Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of The Spark Mental Performance Mastery with Coach David. I hope you're doing great on today. It is so great to be back in the pocket and to be back talking to you and sharing with you things that I think helps you develop, helps you grow, and takes your life to a whole new level. Today, I want to get into something that I think is going to be very beneficial to everyone. If you will take this and apply it to your life, you're going to see great and wonderful things. So go ahead and shout yourselves out. Let me know where you're viewing from. And also, if you're viewing this live, thank you for being here. If you're viewing this, on replay, that's great too. I hope that it will benefit you and help you. Now, today, I'm going to talk about what story are you telling yourself? Now, let's get into it. Have you ever noticed that two people can experience the exact same event, yet one person, they will take that and they'll grow stronger out of it, while another person just gives up? And so you have to ask yourself the question, why? Why is it the same event, a different story, and a different future? Why? Here's what I want you to get. Every single day, our lives are handing us different events. They're coming up in our lives. They are happening. Our mind, on the other hand, gives meaning to those events. That's the stories. So I ask the question, is the story that you're telling yourself helping you, hindering you, or does it have you stuck? So my thing on today is to help you to get beyond the story that you are telling yourself if it is not helping you, if it's hurting you, if it's hindering you. I want to help you with that on today. And I believe that I have exactly the thing that you need to get beyond that. Now, we're going to take this, as I always do, in pieces. The reason why I like to do that is because we are able now to look at really what's behind this, what's causing this. Then what can I do to help build myself up in such a way, my mental performance in such a way that I get beyond this. So let's start dealing with it. Number one, excuse me, your mind is always writing stories. Yeah, I want you to think about that for a minute. Your mind is always writing stories. But here's the truth. The truth is facts and feelings are not the same. I want you to get that. The facts of the stories and the feeling about the stories are not the same. You don't react to reality. What you react to is the interpretation of the reality. In other words, what I'm saying is you are getting a story. Let me see if I can paint an example for you that's going to help you. Let's say, for instance, you sit down and you have a very good friend and you text them and you write out a message to them and everything, and then boom, you hit send and it goes. And let's say that story is gone now. It's 6 hours later, no reply. They have not responded, they not have replied, or they have not even read it. And so what begins to happen now is that our brain is looking for an answer to that. Our brain is like, what's going on here? And so what we are doing, we are looking, we're looking for an answer. The answer, excuse me so much. The answer that we are looking for may not be coming. So what our brain is going to do, unfortunately, is going to fill in the blanks. And when it fills in the blanks, it normally fills in the blanks with fear. Oh, yeah. So what's going on? You got to be very careful of what story that your mind is giving you to fill in the blanks. That person didn't answer you. It's been 6 hours. Some people would sit around and say, hey, they must be really, really busy. Other people would say they're ignoring me. But the truth of the matter is that your brain is looking for an answer. So what your brain is doing is filling in the blanks that you don't have. And those blanks may not be accurate. That's what I'm sharing with you from the difference between facts and feelings. How many times has that happened to you that something has occurred and you felt one way about it, but once you got all the answers and all the information, you got the facts, how many times did your feelings not line up with the facts? So what we have to be very careful is what our brain is attempting to do by filling in all the information. The brain wants answers. You also have to be careful of this, the repeated stories. Oh my goodness. The repeated stories. Repeated stories become a belief. And, let's just say, for instance, you have repeated this story to yourself that people don't like you. Well, by repeating that story to yourself over and over and over again, you have now painted a belief that people don't like you. And consequently, that is the lens that you're going to see. I'm so sorry. That is the lens that you're going to see everything through. So if you believe that people don't like you, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the circumstance is, no matter what you come up against, you are going to paint it from the vision of people don't like me. So we got to be careful of the brain wanting answers, but we also got to be careful of the repeated stories, because the repeated stories become our belief. So that's what happens to us. Now, let's move a little bit further into this, because here's another truth. The story you choose is going to determine your response. Oh, yeah. How you see it and the story you tell determines how you respond. Now, let's go a little further. How you respond is also known as your action. And I've shared this with you before. Your action will determine your outcome. How many times have you heard me say this? E plus R equals O. The event plus the response that you give, your action, is going to determine your outcome. So if that is the case, I got to be very careful of my response. If my response, in accordance with the event, is going to determine my outcome, I've got to be very careful of that. Now, your story controls your decision. That's another one. What do you mean? All right. So let's just say, for instance, this is your story. I'm going to get a drink of water. Help myself out here. All right. Let's just say, for instance, my story says I'm too old. Well, if that is my story, I may never get started. That's what happens. I say I'm too old. That's my story. It's controlling my decision. I may never get started. Let's just say, I'm too young. If I say I'm too young, I may never step out there and take the lead on something, because my story, my story controls my decision. I have to be careful of the story that I am being told or that I am telling to myself, because that story is controlling the decisions that I will make in life. I have to be aware of that. Let's just say I look at this and I say, my story is I failed at this before. Well, if that is my story and it controls my decision is like, I'm not going to do that again. I failed at this before. So I may never, ever try again. Your decision is always going to follow your belief. You need to be aware of that. You need to know that, and you need to get beyond that. Now, let's get to this next thing. You got to be aware of the stories of social media. Now, I'm going to hit this one real quick and move on. Stop comparing your life to somebody else's social media reel. Because here's the truth. The highlights of other people's lives, first of all, is none of your business. And second of all, the comparison creates stories that aren't even true for you. When you start looking at what people are doing on social media and you start trying to apply that to your life, where you're at in life, what you're doing in life, where you're going in life, you can get yourself into a situation of where the comparison creates a story that isn't even true. I'm not telling you that social media is bad. I'm just saying, don't make comparisons of your life to the social media, stories that you see. Now, I'm ready to get into how to help you with this. Oh my goodness. But I'm going to get through it, because you got to get this, because I understand this right here. The story that you're telling yourself is determining your outcome. It's determining your response. It's determining your future. And I want your future to be grand. So here's what we're going to do. Here's the solution to all of this. Rewrite the story before the story rewrites your life. I'm going to say it again. You rewrite the story before the story rewrites your life. Well, what are you talking about? The very first thing you need to do is challenge that first thought. When there is an event, the story is going to be written. Remember what I said about your mind? It's looking to fill in the blanks. Challenge that first thought, because here's the truth. The first thought is not always the truth of the event. It's just often your first reaction. So you got to ask yourself a very critical question. That question is, what evidence do I have? Watch this right here. I'll go back to the example I used. I text you 6 hours ago. You're ignoring me. What evidence do I have that you're ignoring me? You could be sick. You could be in the hospital. You could be busy. You could be at work. There could be so many things going on. What evidence do I have? Challenge that first thought. Here's the next thing. You got to change the question. What are you talking about? Stop asking, why does this always happen to me? Now, I've challenged the first thought, so I can't allow this question of why does this always happen to me to be in the way. What do I do? Okay, you ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What can this teach me? That's where real growth goes on. When you start asking the right questions, now you're going to get the right answers. And when you get the right answers, now you're headed in a new direction. Because this is my third point in this. Your next decision starts a new story. In other words, the decision that you make is going to determine your response. Remember what I said. The event plus your response is going to equal your outcome. I have to challenge that story. I have to challenge that first thought. I have to challenge my brain trying to fill in the blanks. I've got to challenge all of that. I cannot be intimidated by fear. I cannot allow my brain to paint something that's not true in order to try to fill in the blanks. I have to look at the evidence that I have. They didn't answer me. The evidence that I have is that they have not answered me. But I say it like this: they haven't answered me yet. And so what I do, I continue to be, wise about this and continue to move forward, knowing this right here. At some point or another, it may not be the answer I want, but I am going to get an answer from them. But I don't let myself paint a picture of something bad. I don't let myself paint a picture that, they don't care about me. This is my friend. What are you talking about? I messaged my friend. They don't care about me. Well, I have to understand that I have to get beyond that. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about this for a minute. What is the biggest challenge that you are facing right now today? Right now, what's your biggest challenge? Then I want you to think about this. After you look at that biggest challenge, what is the story that you've been telling yourself about that event? So now you look at the event. Then I said, ask yourself, what is the story you're telling yourself about that event? Then ask this question right here. Is the story that I am telling myself moving me forward? Is it hindering me, or is it keeping me stuck? Because remember this right here. I don't always get to choose the events. I don't. I told you, life is handing me events. But I always get to choose the meaning. And that meaning that I choose becomes the life that I build. And after all, I am the architect of my life. I get to choose what life I have. So if I choose the correct meaning, I am going to build a good life. I hope that'll help you. Your brain doesn't just remember events. It's going to create stories about them. I want you to hear this. Your brain is going to do that. It's going to create stories about the events. It's just not going to remember the event. You've seen this before also, where two people involved in the exact same thing have two different stories. Why? Because the brain just doesn't remember the event. It creates a story with the event. The story shapes your beliefs, and your beliefs shape your actions. And the moment you change the story, because you can, the moment you change the story, you change the direction and the trajectory of your life. The story you tell yourself will definitely shape and set your destiny. So I'm going to encourage you as I close today to choose your story wisely. You get to choose the story because you are the architect of your life. Now, I know that was a little rough with me coughing and everything, but I know you got that. Go back and listen to it again. I am sorry that I have this little bit of congestion and everything going on, but I want you to change that story and build the life that you want according to the story that you choose, not the story that your brain just wants to give you, because normally that's going to be filled with fear. I hope this has helped you on today. Remember this right here. You are the architect of your life. I'm Coach David. I believe in you. See you on the next time. Get that story straight. I'll see you then. Bye.